Following up from my previous Philosophy in Kingdom Hearts video, today we'll be exploring a few other philosophical parallels found within the Kingdom Hearts games. Now, you don't necessarily need to watch the previous video for information to understand or to regard this one, but it would help create a fundamental basis to expect what all this video will showcase. So that aside, let's begin. One key philosophical element I excluded from the last video would be the tutorial segments between a few of the mainline games. Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, I recall, 3, and even Dream Drop Distance provide the player with deep thinking questions from the beginning to the end, not necessarily strict to the tutorial. Now, these questions may include, what are you so afraid of? What do you want out of life? What's most important to you? What is it you're so afraid of? What is the one thing you care about more than anything else? What do you wish? The power of the warrior, invincible courage, a sword of terrible destruction. Is this the power you seek? You give up this power? The power of the guardian, kindness to aid friends, a shield to repel all. Is this the power you seek? Or do you give up this power? The power of the mystic, inner strength, a staff of wonder in ruin. Is this the power you seek, or do you give up this power? Wisdom, a sharp mind that will grant you mastery of wondrous power. Is this what you desire? Vitality, a rugged body that will endure even the toughest of challenges. Is this what you desire? And lastly, at least that I can recall, balance, a body and mind of equal merit and equal potential. Is this what you desire? These questions, and more, all can propose different philosophies and ideas to the table. While some of these questions are repeated throughout the series, they sometimes propose more and/or new answers along with them, adding the little philosophical cherry on top. From the question, what are you so afraid of, we can actually see quite a few different fears and phobias here. The fear of getting old is called Phobia. I think I pronounced that correctly. Obviously, having a fear for something is sucky, no fun, and just not good. With this idea, we can parallel a philosophy to indicate that being younger is better, more fun, and just all around good. A few reasons some people may think this include being healthier and even being more innocent. To some, youthfulness means innocence, and innocence can mean purity. Moving on, we have the fear of being different. While I couldn't find some type of a proper phobia name or whatever for this fear, it's still very much adamant within society. Everybody wants to be special and unique, but nobody wants to stand out and be weird. Sometimes being special and unique means to stand out and be weird, and that creates a sense of uncomfortability. Some of us would rather flow with the current than against it. Some people are just wired one way or particular, while some people may constantly struggle with being one or the other. In a world where everybody wants to be somebody, wouldn't somebody then become everybody? Lastly, the fear of being indecisive. If you were just a little kid like me, when reading this question for the first time in the game, you may not have known what indecisiveness is. Basically, it's just the inability to make decisions, or at least not being confident in which choices to make. While I couldn't find a proper phobia name for this one either, I think it just speaks for itself. Decisions are important, especially as a young adult preparing to jump into life. It's rather ironic for this question to be the answer for a question in the first place, given the essence of the answer is contrary to actually answering the question, but I digress. Indecisive people mostly also struggle with anxiety, and to be anxious means to constantly worry, be nervous, or feel uneasy regarding decisions. There isn't much else to say for this answer, but I would advise that if you, watching this, struggle with indecisiveness, just do your best to take a deep breath, relax, and apply yourself again at the problem once you've rested. I've found there's little reason to tackle a problem while overly stressed or worried. You can also talk to people for advice, whether you think so or not, be it a parental guardian, a friend, or someone of profession in your life. Anyways, moving back on with the video. We see this same question brought back into play within Dream Drop Distance, however the answers have changed. The answers this time around include getting trapped in the darkness, causing someone to be hurt, and losing something that's important. While the first answer may just suggest a fear of the dark, it can definitely get a lot deeper than that. Darkness, in most pop culture outlets, is a parody of just evil or evilness. If that's a word, right? Evil is something that people struggle with each and every day in our real world. No matter what scale you want to judge the morality of good and evil on, we all still, obviously, have a sense of good and evil to some merit or degree. Anyways, getting trapped in the darkness may easily be a parallel to just becoming evil or bad. Whether it be by intentional or accidental means, people are subject to doing evil each and every day. This answer also speaks volumes into Riku's character specifically, who is not only being asked the question, but who has gone through his own struggles and battled his own demons regarding the darkness. Secondly, we have causing someone to be hurt. See, now this fear could very well piggyback off the last, because if you're a pawn of evil, surely hurting people is included in that. Aside from that correlation, you could accidentally hurt people too, whether it be their feelings or stubbing their toe. This sense of awareness for your friends might also correlate with being indecisive, not wanting to make decisions because you're afraid that you'll hurt people. You may not want to tell your friend that they have bad breath because you think it'll hurt their feelings. You may not want to play Smash Bros with your friend because you're afraid it'll hurt their self-confidence. These are just a few small examples, but the theory is still there. Finally, we have the answer, losing something that's important. I really admire this answer, because in a way, this answer can tie up almost all the previous ones. You can be afraid of losing your youthfulness and purity, if that's important to you. You can be afraid of losing your sense of goodness, if that's important to you. And I hope it is. You may be afraid of losing what makes you different, or the same, from other people, if that's important to you. All these things and more are in and of themselves important, or they can be, depending on the individual. As for the second unique question, we have, what do you want out of life? The answers include seeing rare sights, broadening my horizons, and being strong. Starting with the first answer, to see rare sights, we can actually depict a sense of materialism here. Now, while there is an actual metaphysical and philosophical doctrine called materialism, we'll be looking at the more basic definition of it. Materialism would be a tendency to consider material possessions and physical comforts as more important than spiritual values. While seeing rare sights may not technically count as material possessions, they definitely would provide a sense of comfort or completion once grasped. For example, the desire to go see the Wall of China, no matter the cost, I would say, would be defined as a materialistic point of view. The will to do anything, including something evil, simply to garner the experience of a rare sight, I would say is not only potentially twisted, but maybe even materialistic. Secondly, we have broadening my horizons. While this could also literally mean seeing rare sights, I'm more inclined to be under the impression that it refers to society and people's cultures and perspectives. While you may not necessarily believe or value certain ideas, this answer would mean to try and accept and learn from those ideas respectfully. New atheism is an example of this. Lastly, we have being strong. While this could mean physical strength, and possibly fit into the realm of materialism once again, I feel like it's more so meaning emotional strength for your friends and family. We also have a similar question to what do you want out of life, being what do you wish? The answers include to protect my friends, to recover something important, and to heal the pain from the past. Since it's rather similar to the previous questions and answers, I'll exclude protecting my friends. Wishing to recover something important can mean a handful of things, really. Again, it can branch into the idea of materialism, like we've established before, but it could also mean to reconnect with loved ones. Maybe you had a falling out with a friend or a family member. This answer doesn't have to solely concern relationship statuses, no. I mean, it could also just be yourself. Maybe you aren't the best that you can be, or maybe you're just not the best that you have been in life. Maybe you've lost something along the way, something important. Maybe you've lost the will for compassion or mercy. These are important elements not because we're human, but because they're important to apply to ourselves as well. Lastly, healing pain from the past. This can include experiences that I've just mentioned, such as a falling out between friends and family, or even more personal experiences. Some people, in fact, lots of people, may feel damaged or hurt once they look and reflect on themselves. They feel bruised or scarred, depending on how they used to be. In some cases, it's okay. In some cases, people are able to cope with it and make those experiences work out for the betterment of them. In other cases, some people still need that healing for closure. Definitely a lot of dark turns this question proposes, so let's move on. Our next question is, what's most important to you? Our answers are being number one, friendship, and my prized possessions. Again, I think we can all label my prized possessions here as a form of materialism, so let's look at the other two. The other two options we're left with are actually quite fascinating, as they do depict our two main characters, Sora and Riku, perfectly. As I mentioned in my last video, Sora values his friends more than anything else. He'd easily do anything for them, as is shown multiple times throughout the series. He is an altruist. Riku, on the other hand, creates a facade at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2 with stating,
"You know, I always figured I was better at stuff than you."
Really?
Are you mad?
No. I kinda always thought you were better at everything, too.
Later, he admits that he was actually jealous of Sora, wanting to be more like him. Riku, the realist, admires Sora's sense of idealism. The two's exchange perfectly replicates our two remaining answers for this question.
What I said back there about thinking I was better at stuff than you? To tell you the truth, Sora, I was jealous of you.
What for?
I wished I could live life the way you do. Just following my heart.
Yeah, well, I've got my share of problems, too.
Like what?
Like wanting to be like you.
Well, there is one advantage to being me. Something you can never imitate.
Really? What's that?
Having you for a friend.
We also have another similar question to this one, being, what is the one thing you care about more than anything else? The answer given includes the hearts connected by lights, my close friends, and the strength to protect others. These answers kind of come from all across the other questions that we've seen and read, minus the first one. When it comes to the hearts connected by light, we can easily assert this to those who exist in the realm of light within Kingdom Hearts, but similar with how we portrayed darkness before, we can do the same thing here for light. As darkness is bad or evil, light would be good and just. So when it comes to this answer, it could easily mean those of good and just hearts. You would then have to analyze the rest of the Kingdom Hearts cast and decide who meets the qualifications. I suppose easily you could say Sora, Kairi, and potentially even Mickey Mouse, but that's a topic for another day. Both of our other answers can actually fit into Sora's altruistic beliefs. Sora is a character that inconveniences himself for the sake of others. Sora constantly meets the qualifications of altruism when being applied to these two answers. However, inconveniencing yourself doesn't always mean to care for your friends or for the strength to protect others. You could do both without sacrificing your time or energy, depending on the relationship or the situation, of course. Well, we've hit about 6 out of the 12 unique questions, so let's continue. Questions 7, 8, and 9 all focus on the weapons that you obtain in the tutorial. The gameplay significance of this is that it will determine how strong, defensive, or magically skilled your character is for the rest of the game. The actual items referenced in the questions do not matter for the rest of the game, but for purely the stat difference. Question 7 says, the power of the warrior, invincible courage, a sword of terrible destruction. Is this the power you seek? The question creates the identity of a brave warrior with invincible courage, but whose sword is a weapon of terrible destruction. While this does seem like a good choice considering the bravery and courage lines, you are subjecting yourself and your character to a power of terrible destruction, possibly beyond your control. A choice must be made. Do you have the responsibility to wield such a weapon? By what authority are you able to wield such a power, possibly pertaining to life and death? Question 8 says the power of the Guardian. Kindness to aid friends. A shield to repel all. Is this the power you seek? This question is much more safer than the former. Kindness to aid friends is obviously a good thing. A shield to repel all? I mean, hey, what can go wrong? Ideally, nothing. A good defense is as good an offense, after all. The only imaginable downside would be falling into the trap of altruism. Eventually, maybe, being so reliant could lead to the user being burned out. They may not want to protect one another anymore. Such is the downfall of the Guardian. Lastly, the 9th question says, the power of the mystic, inner strength, a staff of wonder and ruin. Unlike the previous two, the staff here seems a lot more balanced. The staff grants inner strength of some kind, be it durability, knowledge, or self-confidence, and a weapon of wonder and ruin. The staff seems to be, ironically enough, the ideal weapon for a wizard, sage, or scholar. Finally, we have questions 10, 11, and 12. Similar to the last 3 questions, these questions also affect gameplay decisions and experience. Quite literally, in fact. These questions will dictate how you level up throughout Kingdom Hearts 3. Question 10 says Wisdom, a sharp mind that will grant mastery of wondrous power. Is this what you desire? Out of context, we can have a very vague concept of what wisdom actually holds. At bare minimum, we can expect to gain the ability of smart decision-making and wondrous power. Outside of the franchise's lore, wondrous power is just incredibly vague. Although, to be fair, the power scaling in this series is already vague enough anyway. If we take this question in context with the previous triad of questions, we can guarantee wisdom to be a balance of power of the warrior and the power of the guardian. As such, there isn't much to say here aside that it looks mostly good. Question 11 says Vitality, a rugged body that will endure even the toughest of challenges. Is this what you desire? Reading the question, we're given the idea of defense, endurance, and perseverance. Even through the lowest lows and the highest highs, you're given a sense of security and success. To me, this question kind of implies an underdog effect, that the little man, being you, will always come out on top. But even then, this question also brings forth ambiguity in all senses. Lastly, we have question 12. Question 12 says balance, a body of mind and equal merit and equal potential. Is this what you desire? Similar to wisdom before, this option obviously spells out balance. An even measuring scale between merit, the quality of being good or worthy, and potential, the case of qualities and abilities that may be developed on in the future. Between all of these choices, we're able to gain an ideal perception of how our player should approach their upcoming journey. And, ultimately, life. Whew! Okay, so there is your average analysis of all the deep-thinking, interesting, and remotely thought-provoking tutorial questions and whatnot that the series gives you. The rest of the philosophical elements I've picked up can mostly be seen as trivia, and this isn't much of anything, but nonetheless, here we go. Let's quickly take a look at Ericus. When it comes to darkness being evil and light being good, many fans may like to adopt a yin-yang sense of perception. Essentially, is that light and darkness, good and evil, are all in coexistence. You have good within the bad, and bad within the good. You have light within the darkness, and darkness within the light. If these things have a sense of duality to them, they may be seen as equivocal. What is truly the difference between light and darkness if both have an essence of each other? People apply this to characters like Terra and Ericus specifically, who slightly bring this concept into light. Wow, that was bad. Terra, although he's tainted with darkness, insists that he's good at heart. Ericus, who everyone looks up to as the beacon and father figure, is strict and blinded by his own ideals. People have questioned Ericus's role as a true wielder of light, and even have suggested that he may be tainted by the darkness found within the light. As this does ideally make Ericus more of a complex character, I would say that I feel that it differs from the idea of good and evil that the rest of the series and games insists on. Multiple times, throughout multiple games, The idea that there is good within the darkness is pretty much laughed at. Sure, it's teased in character arcs like Riku's, but Riku eventually defies it. If characters were honestly and truthfully okay with being stained by the darkness, then I feel as if they wouldn't make such a big deal about it. People of light clearly show no sign of struggling with being stained by the light. They just don't. It's not there. In fact, being a part of the light is something that's praised upon within Kingdom Hearts. Being of the darkness always has bad repercussions following. Whether you want to say this idea has been continuously retconned or misunderstood by fans, or even if these characters just truly are that complex, you have to agree that the idea or those characters are not entirely coherent with that ideology that the rest of the series kind of proposes. Whew, well, that's just about all the rest of the philosophical tidbits that I have for this video. If I miss anything, feel free to let me know down in the comments below, and I will definitely check them out, read them, and potentially make a video on them. So again, guys, thanks for watching. This is Jake, logging out. Peace.